Hey everyone, Christy with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal in Southeast Florida. We came back from New York for a family matter the other day and went to go bring the trailer to a job and then realized that the back tire was extremely flat. So we ended up having to go get the other trailer. Luckily, we still have that because I'm actually in the process of trying to sell it. So that actually worked out pretty well. But last night I went ahead and came by, threw the jacker under just to alleviate some of the pressure from it, put enough air in that the bulge wasn't just sitting there getting worse and worse. And now we have it off. I found the culprit. It is a little flathead nail. I actually prefer when it's a Phillips head because you can just drill it right out of place. Now we gotta sit here and try to dig it out with pliers and not make it any worse. But I will say, when I first got my 12-foot trailer, that was my first trailer, I never had a tire problem, ever. Not once. It wasn't until I got this lovely larger vehicle here that has 4 tires that I started having flats and nails and tires, and usually I would catch them because I do a quick check most times when I go pick up my trailer, and I just started having problems. And so far I've patched, I think, 3 or 4 patches in these tires. Super annoying. And then the spare tire I have on my trailer on the other side that came off of my 12-foot trailer, I went to go swap it out one day because I was in a hurry to go to a job, and I realized that it doesn't quite fit. I didn't realize, I thought patterns, there's just 5 or 6 patterns. I didn't realize that they could be off by like 1/4 of an inch. I didn't know that about lug nuts. So I actually can't use that extra tire for anything. And I bought that thing brand new for like 220 bucks when I first got my other trailer, because ever since I was in catering, I would drive all around the place, and then when I did moving, like constantly had nails in my tires, and it was just such a pain. I never really used my spare though. I always just patched it on the spot, which, if you're in the market for something like that, I highly recommend a few things in addition to the lug nut attachment for the drill. Number one, and most importantly, just for personal use and business, get an air pump. I got this from Lowe's like probably 9 years ago for like 60 bucks. Saved me so many times. Like if I had a flat, I would just go park in a gas station and do it on my own. I don't have to sit there and take up the air pump and then, stuff like that. So that comes in handy big time, especially if you're just low on air, not even like a flat tire. In addition to that, if you don't have a jack on your truck because they're heavy and a pain, Trailer Aid. You can get them on Amazon. They're pretty cool. So what you do is you line it up to your tire just like you would a tire ramp if you're going to be doing like an oil change or work on your vehicle. And you just drive the trailer up onto it with a tandem axle, and it lifts the other side up. So if I had to do this one, for example, I would put it backwards on that tire and back it up, and then this one comes off the ground. So it's just a little bit more secure method than using a jack. So I would recommend that. Also, with the tire pump, it comes in handy for sure with your trucks. Tricky with the trailers when you're in setup mode. So what I recommend is you get a outlet pack that you can plug into your truck with a cigarette lighter, and then just carry a little 10-foot, 15-foot extension cord with you. Doesn't take up much room, doesn't take up any weight. That way you can run it long ways if you need to, because that is something I noticed quite a few times, is that doesn't reach all the way back. So comes in handy. And then of course, always carry extra tire plugs with you for situations like this. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and borrow my neighbor's boat here. So putting air in the tire, it was on 0, so it has a lot of air to be put in, so it's probably gonna take a few minutes. While that is going, I recently read a book, and it taught me a lot about business, and I'll share about it later on. But it's based around marketing, and it was very informal in regards of a lot of the things I was reading about that says like, this is what most businesses do. And I was like, we do that. And it's like, this is what you should be doing instead, and why. That's a big ass mosquito. Maybe we will move locations. So a lot of it, I'm going to try to implement myself to our business. It also talks a lot about repeat clients, which is what was talked about at the Junk Expo in Sonoma Strong. They had that Junk Expo in Sonoma County about 2 weeks ago, kind of like the end of October. And they were talking about repeat clients and how important that could be versus spending all this money to go out to get new clients. Why not focus on what you have? You want to do both, of course, but if you already have clientele that you've paid for with their time and money to get, and they've already gotten past your questionable skills, they've already gotten past your, well, what's different between you and somebody else, you've already made that sale, the transaction has been done. Why not continue building that relationship and try to keep them coming back, build that lifetime value customer situation? So a lot of it talked about things like that, and I was even thinking about that going into this year. I was like, I'm going to focus heavily on the people I already have, because we have, not including paper invoices, because I started my app later on, but we have like, I don't know, 490 something clients that we can access. Like I can reach out by text or email or give a call or, send them a postcard. I've done that in the past. Every year we do holiday cards to anyone we have a physical address for. But something we may start doing going forward is sending out more often cards. And it's a lot of information that I thought would be very valuable, and we are going to implement it heavily. And our goal next year is to basically build the business, build ourselves, build everything. And then the following year will be like planning and stuff like that. As far as YouTube goes, if you have noticed, I have a lot less videos visible to the public. We are shifting our focus of what we are presenting, not just to people on YouTube, but to outside public. We're going to try to incorporate it a little bit more with the website and with social media and whatnot. And even sharing specific videos to clients we already have worked with. Maybe like if a client says, hey, I need a couch removed, but this is my only availability. If I just simply can't make that availability, and I don't have anyone to refer to for that time slot, and I know that person is maybe capable of doing it, they just don't know how, I could send them one of my videos off of YouTube and say, hey, check this out, see if it helps. And if you still have a problem, I can be there, whenever my next availability is. I had an example for this, but I think this one's actually going to be a little bit more ideal because it actually happened. So my idea would be, let's say I have a client who is very capable of doing things on his own, but he calls us out for junk removal because he doesn't want to deal with it, right? Junk removal is a luxury service for time or convenience. People either don't want to spend the time, don't have the time, or they don't want to deal with it and they'd rather pay someone to do it. That's where we come in typically. So I had a client that didn't need junk removal. Instead, he asked if I would be able to help bring a couch out to like the garage because someone was going to come by and pick it up off of Facebook. And I said, I'm unfortunately booked up until so-and-so time, and that was past his time frame. So I kind of just quickly said, try using this this dolly to do this and that, because he had a dolly in his garage. I said, go get your dolly, and I kind of just told him real quick through a text message how to kind of operate with it. And he said it was a little tough, but he ended up kind of figuring it out using the strategy that I said and thanked me for it. Now, in that position, I think it would be awesome to be able to send one of my videos off of YouTube to that client and say, knowing your position, try this exact video and let me know if you have any problems. Like, how great would that be that you can't be there for your repeat client, even if it's not junk removal specific, but it's kind of in the field. You can't be there for them. They're asking you for guidance because they've seen you work, and you send them a video that you made for just the general public that applies to them so perfectly, and they're able to literally use that technique for themselves to get out of a tough situation. Like, imagine the amount of extra value you can provide in that situation. So that is something that we kind of want to push for. We want to make these videos shareable, not us talking about junk removal and then complaining about, oh, I hate when customers do this, I hate when customers do that, and you know, I can't believe these people wanted it done for free. Like, that's all, it's authentic, you know, it's genuine. I'm not, you know, being inappropriate. I'm not just being vulgar or talking down on people, but, you know, it's business, it's life, it's jobs, you know. Go ask someone who works in customer service and ask them to explain their day. They're probably going to curse you out a few times just explaining their situations with their people they've dealt with. It's work, you know, it is what it is. But I would rather have videos out there that could be informative and helpful, and not just to all the junk haulers, but to everybody. And I think that incorporating what I'm going to talk about next is a perfect situation for that. So that's my idea. But even something like that, just like the gesture of like, you know, I can't be there, but try this. So that's just one example though. But we are basically going to be focusing on like how to move stuff, which when we went to the Junk Expo, I think we had a little over 20 people come up to us, like different people, to say like, hey, we love your channel. We appreciate the how to move videos. And that was like 90% of the people's compliments is the how to move, which is great because that's what I actually enjoy teaching. I used to do that at the other two moving companies. Once you become a driver or a captain or whatever for a certain amount of time, they start having you train people. I used to like doing that. So it actually worked out for me too, because I enjoy that process. And we're gonna try to dig deep into all the different things. And at the end of the day, I think every junk hauler should learn how to move, because junk removal and moving are literally like cousins. They go hand in hand so well. The only difference, and I say this all the time, is that the only difference in moving is you are careful with the item you have itself. You don't want to damage the item. In junk removal, the item itself getting damaged isn't as big of a deal, but you still want to be careful of property damage. You don't want to scratch the floor, the stairwell, bang up the door, break a window, you know, crack a tile. All the same aspects of moving apply to junk removal. And we had a lady a couple of weeks ago that when she saw me put a dresser on a blanket and slide it throughout the hallway, she said, that is such a smart idea. I wish the movers who moved me in thought about that. Guess what they did? Take a guess. I just gave it away, but take a guess. They stood the dresser up. They at least recognized enough that, hey, this isn't going to go through flat. We need to stand it up. Guess what they did? They slid it on the floor. It was only shrink wrapped. Let me tell you something. Shrink wrap doesn't do a damn thing to protect your furniture. It won't do anything if it is hard to hard surface. It's not going to do anything at all. A moving blanket will. So she was like, yeah, they just slid it and it left these trail marks in the floor. She replaced her floor since then. But she was like, that's so smart. I wish the movers thought about that. And I was like, I'm surprised they didn't, because I learned that from moving. And that's like a common technique when you're not able to, you know, stitch something up and get it through on a dolly or take it on a hand truck because it's too tight. You put it on a blanket. So something like that, I could 100% see a junk hauler do. And I've heard of people commenting that they do that. And it just drives, I don't know. Like, besides your insurance, it just makes you look incredibly unprofessional to not be able to remove something from a house without causing damage. I could understand if it was like a 800-pound armoire going down a spiral staircase and you're just not that experienced and your other person isn't as experienced to handle that. Even for a mover, that's tricky as hell. But I can understand. But there's so many things, like there's an insurance agent on Matt and JoJo's channel talking about they had a claim put in. These guys slid a couch out throughout the whole house, banged up the door, scratched up the floor. When they got it outside, they dragged it through the driveway to the truck, leaving trail marks in the driveway. And it was a pretty hefty claim on the insurance side. And in my mind, I was like, the moment you saw scratches begin, why would you not stop? Why would you continue it again outside? And I think a lot of people just don't care, or they're just oblivious to what's happening. So that's what I want to teach. Like, at the end of the day, to me, I think that's invaluable. Everyone's going to struggle with business. They're going to learn about business. You're going to struggle with marketing. You're going to learn about marketing. You're going to struggle with pricing. You're going to learn about pricing. That all comes with the job. but I don't think a lot of people look at the moving side of junk removal, and I think that's super important. So that is what we are going to be focusing on moving forward, is how to handle your customers' junk with care. And that's something that we're going to be pushing ourselves in a much more heightened way. I was thinking about the other day, I was like, what makes us different from other junk removal companies? And in reality, this is a hard question for a lot of people, because we all do the same thing. It's a very specific niche. It's not like a master craftsman versus just your handyman or your contractor who just, does what the customer asks versus going above and beyond, getting details, making sure that, the foundation underneath the tile is going to be good for 50 years from now. There's people that focus on those details, and there's people that just get the job done. And I feel like for most junk removal companies, we only have so much to really do before, we're just all the same. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, we have a moving background and we're really careful. So for me, I feel like that's what helps stand us up. So that's what we're going to be focusing on, which is why I just talked about the whole thing. But that's what we're going to be doing going forward. So we're going to be doing techniques with different pieces of equipment and how to handle things. It may look small, but I promise you it's going to add up. And a lot of the stuff we do may seem like it repeats, and that's going to be intentional, because the whole point of moving is you build muscle memory through techniques. So that way you get comfortable over time, and it becomes just instinct to do certain things. You don't even have to think about it. Half the time I'm moving and doing stuff, or I'm working with my helper, I'm not thinking about moving. I'm very, very deep in thought in something else. And if you were to ask me, hey, can you walk me through what you just did? There's a good chance the answer is probably no. It's just going to be doing what I would imagine I would be doing. That's how much I'm not paying attention to the movements I'm making. I'm still being careful of my surroundings, but I'm not thinking about applying pressure on my foot, pushing the piece back, pulling back on the hand truck, this and that. There's so many little details that go into play. So that is something that we're going to be talking about pretty heavily. I think the thing is done. So we may lose some people on the channel, but I think we'll provide more value. And at the end of the day, people provided me with value when I got started, so that's what we're doing in return. And I mentioned this from before, I don't do YouTube to make money. I started it because it was a fun outlet to get me to talk about what we're doing and stuff, and it also helped the SEO, and I just always had a niche towards it. So that's what we're going to continue to do. So the tire is all done, it's inflated. Here's the plug right here. Gonna go ahead and take the jack down, load up. Actually, while I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and put air in all 4 tires just to make sure they're good to go for the future. But yeah, everything else looks pretty good. I had a property manager I did a quick job for his community. It's just a couple items by a dumpster. It's actually a lot less than we thought it was going to be. And he called me up today and said, hey, I don't know if you do residential. And I was like, that's what we mainly do. But he said he has a property kind of out in the boondocks. That's my wording, not his. It's not close. It's out there. We don't really go up there for things, even though it's technically in our county, but it's one of those cities that's on the outskirts, not far away, but out there. And he's like, yeah, I have a property, I have a few things here and there, and then I have a shed in the back that we want to empty out. It's like a rental property. And I looked it up on the satellite map, and the shed looks like the size of the garage that my brother has at his house, which is 45 feet long and 30 feet deep. When you pull it up on the maps, it's almost the same size as the house is. And I don't know how full it is, but it sounds like a lot. And then he said there's a big pile of pavers, 100 something. And I was like, well, that's a load by itself. And then he mentioned that there's one of those big disposable pools. I don't know what you call them, but that needs to be, I think it's already drained. It just needs to be broken up and hauled away. So at first I was like, yeah, if it's just a couple of pieces, it's not really probably gonna be worth it for us. Maybe try to find someone closer by. And then he started listing off all these things, and I was like, okay, that sounds like multiple loads. So we'll see what happens. He wants it done the day before and the day after Thanksgiving, which is perfectly fine with me. I was like, yeah, I'll accommodate those days for you. But he was like, how much would it be? And I was like, I don't know. It depends on volume, just like your property management job did. So I sent him over how much we would charge by the load based on the distance. And then I mentioned the part about the pavers and any other construction debris there. And he hasn't responded back yet. So trying to figure that out by tomorrow, because I don't want to block out those days for him if he's not gonna, you know, want to book with us. So we'll see what happens, but that may end up being a really big job from what I've been told, unless it's really just not a ton of stuff. But yeah, that's about it. So I guess moving related, let me know what you guys struggle with. You know, I'm not all-knowing genius when it comes to moving. You know, I have a few years experience. I feel like I was a pretty good mover and I know what to watch for. I feel like it's definitely helped me out huge with the junk removal. You know, I may not be the one to sit there and chop up a jacuzzi with the saw, but I'll sit there and pop it up on a dolly and take it out on my own. Maybe not by myself. I've done it for a person by myself. But like, there's definitely like the dirtier stuff I don't do and haven't done before. Like demo, I don't do demo. I've never taken apart a shed other than like the little dinky plastic one we did. You know, I don't take out cabinets from the house. I don't cut things up really much unless it's something small or like a swing set or something. So there's definitely a lot of stuff in that regards that I'm not an expert in, but in moving I feel comfortable enough to teach others. So if there's something that you find repetitively that bothers you, or that you guys have trouble with or have in the past and you just haven't had it in a while, comment it down below and we'll put together a big list to start working on over the coming months and years. So that's gonna be it. It's actually getting kind of chilly in Florida. You can usually tell by the sunset with the color of the sky if it's I think it's if it's more pinkish or reddish, it's gonna be cold out, and if it's just normal, it's just normal. So I don't know, whatever is warmer than New York. That sucked. New York was like in the 40s the whole time I was there. Not my cup of tea. So that's gonna be it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.